Greetings, happy Monday. Is it really Monday?
Already.
It's really Monday. From Agile Learning Labs World Headquarters, beautiful downtown San Mateo, California. And once again with me is the fabulous Llewelyn Falco.
Hello, everyone.
And today we're going to be talking about something that is very much in Llewelyn's wheelhouse, something I care a lot about too.
Refactoring.
Refactoring, but we're talking about the value of refactoring.
That's a good point.
So this
not
is
just the how, but like why you might want to do it.
Yeah, this is not going to be the I don't know, here's how to promote something to a base class or any of the technical mumbo jumbo.
All important things, all things you should learn.
Where could they go if they wanted to learn that stuff?
I would guess about the best place would be us.
Okay. So I will post a link to some videos that Llewelyn has on refactoring in the comments. But today's topic is the value of refactoring. Like, if I'm the business owner or the product owner or something like that, like why would I want to support my team in doing refactoring? First off, let us have a little definition.
I think that's a good idea because a lot of times I think refactoring is one of the techniques that almost everyone thinks they are doing, and usually they are not, right? Like it's just a small, so get a couple like maybe things I've heard that are like, ooh, red flag. We refactored this to add this new feature, right? Like we refactored it so it supported. Yeah, that's
not refactoring.
That's not refactoring.
Yeah. So I often say, and let's see what you think. Refactoring is changing the design of something without changing its external behavior.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that's a good definition, but I think like maybe a more visceral understanding is like when you clean up your kitchen.
Oh,
right.
Tell me about that.
The kitchen does the same things it did before you cleaned it up. It's just better organized.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
A lot of times refactoring is just reorganizing things, but not adding things, not taking things away, just reorganizing.
Yeah. This is, and maybe a couple of analogies. I think you had like a closet one once that I heard. I've heard you mentioned kitchen. I've heard a kitchen one frequently. The kitchen one that I heard that I really liked was, you're hungry and you're in a rush. And so you go in the kitchen, you grab a pot, you grab some stuff, you cook a meal, you grab a plate, you dump the meal on the plate, you set the pot back on the stove, you eat the plate,
that very thing this morning.
Set the dishes down. All right, and you have achieved breakfast.
And a mess.
And a mess, but the feature request said must have breakfast. So next feature request comes along. Oh my God, we're in a real rush. We got to have lunch, right? So what do? Well, you move the dirty pot to the side. You grab another pot. You cook a meal, and you keep doing this, and pretty soon you've got this giant pile of dirty pots and pans,
and you don't have a place for the other pots. You also have this problem where it's like, I don't know if you have this, but I have this where it's like my sink piles up with dishes, and it's like, oh, I need this plate, right? Like, or I need the cutting board. I take the cutting board out from the bottom, and then all of a sudden, like the stuff tumbles down.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the code gets like that.
Yeah.
Where you pull this one thread, and something over here breaks, and so you pull this thread to fix that, and then something over here breaks.
Yeah. So refactoring. Basically, cleaning up your kitchen,
clean that up,
right? It's like, oh yeah, your kitchen still has all the same pots and pans it had, but now they're in places where you can get at them and use them quickly. I like that.
And more importantly, like when the reason you clean your kitchen is so you can use it in the future. And the reason that you refactor your code is so you can use it more easily in the future.
Oh, I like it. I like it. So talk to me about this. This is something you told me about once, was refactoring for long-term health. This sounds kind of like that.
So a lot of times, if you're a programmer, you're going to use a lot of libraries. Things like Angular, things like JUnit, like things that help you get going quickly. And yet, in your own code base, over time, it gets slower and slower. I'm sure you've seen this.
Never.
But I mean, it's really commonplace that as projects get older in the tooth, it becomes harder to do even very simple things. Very simple things become really hard to do. And so maybe it could go the opposite way. Maybe every time you did something, it made it easier to do something in the future. And that is really powerful. Really important.
Yeah, this is the way I like to explain that aspect of this when I'm talking to product owners or people on the business side, is that we're doing all of this coding technical stuff to create value, right? That's why we do it. And there are multiple dimensions of value. One that most people are familiar with is the value that we get when there's a new behavior in the system, right? We fix a bug, oh, the system's more valuable. We add a new feature, oh, the system's more valuable. But there's another dimension of value that's super important, which is the value of the system itself. The system itself is an asset that your company owns, and it is a value producing asset. It's an asset that the company expects to produce great value well into the future. A good analogy.
Well, and I think like companies now are all about this, right? Like, so like you look at Uber, tons of taxis, doesn't own a car, right? You look at Airbnb, doesn't own a property, but more properties than Hilton and Marriott.
Yeah, it's their system. Right?
It's their system. Yeah.
Yeah. And an analogy I use sometimes is income property. Let's say you owned an apartment building. In the short term, you could do better by deferring all of the maintenance.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to paint it. I'm not going to.
If I'm selling the house, in September,
that might be the right.
I'm not building a new kitchen.
Right.
I'm not repainting. I'm just doing what's needed to sell the house.
Yeah, but if it's an apartment building, right? And for the short term, I'm going to defer. I'm not going to fix the leaky roof. Not going to do any of that. And in the short term, you do better, right? Your rents that are coming in are the same. You're not incurring these expenses, and in the short term, it's a win. Problem is, the longer you go, the more expensive it is going to be to address those, and your asset's inherent value is going down. Its ability to generate income is going down. Pretty soon, people don't want to rent there.
Can we talk about the short term?
Let's talk about the short term.
Because in a house, the short term is usually like 8 months, 9 months, maybe a year.
Yeah.
What I've found in programming is the short term is usually 2 days, 3 days, possibly a week. It's rare that it's a week.
Okay.
And the difference is, in the house, you're usually not adding anything to it. You have your house.
In the short term, yeah.
Haven't done any remodeling all week.
Yeah.
But in your code, you're remodeling all the time, right? Like you have a code base, you have programmers in there all the time. If you had work people coming every day and your floor was covered in nails, how long term do you have to go before getting those nails into a nice pile and not on the floor is going to pay off over stepping on a nail? So because we are in our code all the time, refactoring, the idea of a long-term refactor for me is usually a day, 2 days. Like it is much shorter turn till we get that return on payment. And the difference is that we are actively working in it anyways. Right? If I'm cooking every day 3 meals a day, and I'm in a place where I cannot cook in the kitchen, that pays off by lunchtime.
Yeah.
Even if all I've done is clean the area around the stove. Like I don't need to clean the entire kitchen. If I'm going to make lunch, I can clean the area around the stove, make lunch. It's probably going to be better off even by lunchtime.
Yeah. And then maybe after lunch, when you're putting stuff away, maybe that's a good time to do a little bit of cleaning in the fridge, right? There's probably some stuff in there that, it's past its due date. It's time to toss it out.
And when I finally get to my spice cabinet, maybe I spend a little extra time and clean that up. So do it where you're going to go anyways, because then you're going to get the return. If I clean up something and then I don't use it for 5 months, the best return on investment I can get from that is 5 months. If I clean up something that I'm going to use today, I can get return on investment today.
Yeah. Another analogy that I think is related to this, and let me back up for a second. One of the pieces of advice that I give to teams when I'm coaching the team is that they should always be doing their technical work using what I call the rule of the campground. So when I go camping, we always say, leave the campground a little bit cleaner than you found it, right? So don't just clean up your mess, but that beer bottle that was there, when you pulled up, take care of that too. And that, I want the teams to be encouraged and empowered by managers and leaders and people like that to like, that's the way they always work.
Well, and there's a couple of things about that I think are super important. One is it's not saying clean up the entire campground.
Right.
Right? Because then you're just like, I'm not, so everyone else is made.
Mm-hmm.
But
and get off my lawn.
The idea is better. Every time we go there, it wants to be better. Good is a problem because good is usually too much. It's unattainable. It doesn't give you good return, and it's just too hard. Better plus time and repetition will eventually get us to good.
Yeah.
So leave it a little cleaner, leave the code a little better. Right. Now, the interesting thing is that's exactly how your code got bad. It wasn't like your code was great for years and years and years. And then last Tuesday, Chris came into your code base.
Well, maybe he did.
And boom, everything was a disaster. No, every day it got just a little bit worse, a little bit harder to work on. Those methods got a little longer. And over time, it grew into this thing that's super hard.
Yeah.
It creeps up on you. And the way you get rid of it is the same process, but in reverse. You creep it down and down and down, and over time, it gets to really good.
Yeah. And welcome, Bill. Bill Dominguez, a friend of mine from the Agile community here in San Francisco, has joined us. Hey, Bill. It's good to see you.
There's another part of that which I think is really important about cleaning up the campground, which is it's where you're going, right? Like, pay attention to where you're going and make that extra space for a little bit. We talked about Slack. This has been a couple months ago now.
Yeah.
You need that place to say, I need to give myself enough extra space, time, improvement that my job isn't just to get in and get out, but to get in, get out, and leave things better.
Yeah, and this is an area where I think in the workplace we often feel like we're under so much pressure all the time, right? Oh my God, there's way more that people need from us than we're going to have time to do it. That's always going to be true. And one of the traps we fall into is the shortcut trap, right? I'm going to take a shortcut right now because that'll get this particular deliverable across the finish line, technically. But I'm really not doing it the way that I know I really should, which would include this kind of like refactor as you go and leave it cleaner as you go. An analogy I use here a lot is, let's say I'm on my way to an important business meeting, right? But all of a sudden I've got this pain in my gut. And I'm like, oh, this really hurts. So I'm like, so I go to the doctor and say, doctor, I'm on my way to this really important meeting. Maybe it's a big conference and I'm the keynote or some such. Oh, I really hurt. And the doctor checks me out and says, oh, your appendix is about to burst. We got to get this out right away, right? Otherwise you're going to die. Well, I don't want to die, but well, that meeting's really important. Okay, let's do it. And so we get in the operating room and the doctor cuts me open and pulls out the appendix. Snip. Now imagine at that moment that the doctor looks down at me and says, now at this point, what I really should do is this like sterile closing procedure that we like to do, so that you won't get infected in the future. But
I mean, I wish I had time.
Yeah, but right now, the appendix is technically out. I guess we could say, your appendix is out, and I know you've got that meeting. Do you want to just go now? Or, like, we would never do that, and in part it's because we've built up this norm of like trusting our medical professionals to know what is the right way to do something and empowering them to do it. And I think
so that's an interesting point, because the question is, like, do we trust our programmers to do it? And there's two parts of that, right? One is, let's say it wasn't you who had this important meeting, but it was your doctor. And your doctor was like, oh man, I have this thing at 12 o'clock. I just finished doing your thing. It's 11:59. Well, we're done, right? Like, that would be a horrible situation, right? So you don't do that with doctors. Right? You make sure that they have that space. But very often, managers do the exact opposite, right? Where they try to push as much as possible on. Instead of saying, I know that the programmers are going to try to put too much on their plate anyways, and I'm going to purposely take some off to give them this space. But then the other part is you do have to actually learn how to close up the patient.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that we usually don't make space for. is learning. And you might say, well, I have a CS degree, but I have never seen a CS degree focus on how to clean up code, right? This is not something that's normally taught. It's just assume you're going to do things well the first time. And I mean, even if I just write an email, like I think the most common version of refactoring people have is you wrote that email and then you read it and you're like, oh, that's not what I wanted it to do. And you go and you refactor the English. We almost never do things right the first time.
I've learned in relationships that's actually a really good thing to do. Like write the email.
And then think about whether or not you actually want to send it.
Yeah, and then maybe refactor it a little bit.
Maybe refactor it a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe a different version of refactoring where it doesn't quite say the same things it did the first time.
Well, good point. Good point.
But this thing of taking the time and learning how to do it, I want to talk about that a little bit because everyone here, like we didn't want to get into the details of refactoring, but
value.
Just the value. But there are automated tools in your tools, shortcut keys. If your programmers don't know them, if you don't know them, just look at them. That is a really good place to start.
Or maybe bring in an expert who's really familiar with that and can teach it to you quickly.
That is a great way to do it too. Yeah. But we'll do more than just shortcuts. We're going to show you how to see the patterns.
Yeah. So if you were going to leave us with one big takeaway on what is the value of refactoring, like if you were going to talk to a product owner who's never written a line of code in their life and explain to them why they actually want to support the team in doing refactoring.
Well, I think the easiest way is just to look at the math. Code is read so much more than is written. Something like 70% of a programmer's time is just reading and navigating through the code. 70% of your day. If you want to speed up if you want to triple productivity, make it so they don't have to do that. Make it so that when they say, I want to work on this, they know exactly where to go and they can very quickly understand it. If you do that, you're going to get more out of your programmers and you're going to have less bugs. Because you know what bugs are? Bugs are your computer works this way, but your mental model of how the computer works this way. And that space in between these two things, that's where bugs lie. You can bring those two things together so that your code is easy to read and what you read is what it actually does. Then your bugs are going to go away and your programmers are going to be more efficient. And that's what you want. That's how you end up getting more productivity.
Yeah. And I suppose my takeaway will be, again, an analogy. I'm Mr. Analogy today. Imagine you've got, I don't know, this long journey. You're maybe climbing up a long hill or a mountain. And as you go, you're grappling along and a rock came off in my hand, so you throw it in your backpack. Oh, another rock came along, so I throw it in my backpack. And pretty soon that backpack's really heavy.
Yeah.
And, in the short term, how can I make the most progress possible in the next 5 seconds is always take another step. But if the answer is, how do I get to the top of this hill the quickest? The answer is take a moment, get all those darn rocks out of your bag so you can go faster. And that's what refactoring is.
For the system. Like that is the thing that so often we look at trying to optimize for what's right in front of us instead of looking at the whole thing and saying, what is the problem that makes us go better?
Yeah.
And we spend way too much time trying to take the next step and not trying to go better.
Yeah. It's a classic thing, right? As human beings, we way overvalue very short-term gains and losses and way undervalue the medium and long-term. And if you want to succeed in business,
gotta do long-term.
Yeah, you have to be aware of that bias and compensate for it. So to wrap it up, if they want to go deeper on the technical side of this, step one, look in the comments. We're going to post a link to one or more videos that Llewelyn has done.
Yeah, we have it's a long video, but we go 2 minutes at a time. So people, a lot of times they think refactoring means this big thing. A lot of times it's not. A lot of times it's a lot of very little 2-minute steps.
So check that out. And then if you want to take even yet another step, reach out to us and we will put you in touch with Llewelyn.
We can do a class, or if you are in the San Francisco area, the Bay Area, I can actually come in for 2 hours and work with your teams and let them get a taste of what this is really like in practice.
That would be super awesome. And that's probably pretty expensive to get you to come out on site for a 2-hour session.
Well, for the 2-hour session, you get the first one free.
What?
After that, we charge you.
Oh, I've seen that model somewhere before. And of course, if you want to up your game by learning more about Scrum,
you got classes coming up?
I've got a few classes coming up. Check out agilelearninglabs.com for our complete list of certified Scrum Master workshops in both San Francisco and Redwood City, certified Scrum Product Owner workshops in both locations, and our new fancy schmancy advanced certified Scrum Product Owner workshop. That one's currently only offered in Redwood City, but coming to San Francisco in 2020.
New advanced. So what are some of the things that tells me I'm ready for the advanced?
Well, if you already have your certified Scrum Product Owner certification, that's kind of the prerequisite.
That's a prerequisite.
You need that. And then to actually get the certification, you need to both take the class and have a year of product owner experience.
So I couldn't have just gotten it right away.
Well, you can do these two requirements in either order. You could, if you already have a year of experience and you have your CSPO,
then
take the advanced class, you'll get certified right away. If you have your CSPO, but not a year of experience yet, maybe only 6 months, you can still take the advanced class, and then as soon as you can add the year of experience, certification.
Do you have an idea of a smell that might help? So like, I'm struggling with this. This might be the right way to help me.
A common smell is my team's working really, really hard, but we're really not sure that what we're building is the best, most valuable thing. This shows up a lot. I think it's the Standish group that does this darn survey over and over.
Working really hard, but not sure that you're working on the right thing.
Yeah, and they keep coming out with this data that says like something ridiculous, like 80% of all software features are rarely or never used.
That's interesting because the refactoring smell is almost the same. I'm working really, really hard, but I'm not getting anything done.
Pattern.
Yeah.
Pattern. All right. Have a fantastic week. And thanks for tuning in, and check us out next time. I don't even know what we're talking about next time, but watch the Twitters and the Facebooks because we're going to figure it out and announce it, and we'll see you on Monday.
Last responsible moment. That might be what we talk about.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.